What if I told you that the next 10 minutes could wake you up in a way that the last 10 years haven't? No fluff, no hype, just one truth. Most people are asleep with their eyes open. They wake up every day, go through routines they didn't choose in jobs they don't like, living lives they didn't design, and the worst part, they think that's just the way it's supposed to be. But it's not. You were not born to tolerate life. You were born to live it fully, fiercely, awake. Here's the uncomfortable reality. At some point, you stopped asking questions. You accepted things as they were. You made peace with being a little unhappy, a little resentful, a little numb, because at least it was familiar. But familiar isn't freedom. You might not even realize the ways you've been playing small, shrinking, silencing yourself, waiting for someone to give you permission that only you can give. This is your wake-up call. I'm not here to motivate you. I'm here to disrupt you. Because what you need isn't more comfort. It's clarity. It's a mirror to your choices. It's the gut check most people run from. So I want you to sit with this question. If nothing about your life changed, not your relationships, not your job, not your body, not your habits, would you be proud of how you're living it? Really think about that, because in the next 10 minutes, we're going to rip off the blindfold. We're going to confront some truths you've buried, and by the end of it, you won't be able to go back to sleep. Not because I said something magical, but because you're finally ready to see. We've been sold a lie, a beautifully packaged, culturally reinforced lie that tells us if you just work hard enough, behave well enough, smile often enough, and stay in line, life will reward you. You'll be safe, comfortable, and finally at peace. But that's not how it works. Comfort is not a reward, it's a trap. Think about it. Look at your life right now. The routines, the patterns, the things you tolerate. You didn't get there overnight. You drifted. One small choice after another. One compromise, one I'll do it tomorrow, one this is fine for now. And slowly, your world became smaller. Not because you didn't dream big enough, but because you started making decisions based on what felt safe, not what felt right. Comfort seduces you. It makes you believe you're okay because things aren't actively falling apart. But there's a difference between not drowning and actually swimming towards something that matters. That's the thing nobody tells you. Comfort rarely coexists with growth. They are opposites in many ways. When you're comfortable, your brain doesn't have to work hard. Your body doesn't have to stretch. Your mind doesn't have to question anything. It's the path of least resistance, and it feels nice for a while. But there's a cost. Comfort is quiet, subtle. It doesn't scream. It whispers. It tells you things like, you've been through a lot. Just rest. You don't need to speak up right now. It'll cause drama. It's too late to change careers. At least you're not as bad off as other people. It wraps these lies in a warm blanket of logic. It makes passivity seem wise. It makes settling seem mature. It convinces you that shrinking your life is the responsible thing to do. But deep down, something in you knows the truth. You feel it. That low-grade frustration, that restlessness, that flicker of envy when you see someone doing what you wish you had the courage to do. That voice in your head asking, is this it? Is this all there is? And then you silence that voice. You turn up the volume on your distractions. Scroll, binge, shop, drink, please others. Anything to avoid the confrontation. Because confronting it would mean you'd have to do something about it. You'd have to get uncomfortable. But here's what most people don't realize until it's too late. Your comfort zone isn't keeping you safe. It's keeping you small. It's keeping you stuck in the version of yourself that's easiest to maintain, but furthest from your potential. Discomfort is the tuition for growth. It's the price of the life you actually want. Every breakthrough, personal, professional, emotional, comes with discomfort first. You don't get confidence without first taking action while you're insecure. You don't get strong without first being weak and willing to endure the burn. You don't find truth without first questioning everything you were taught. Look at anyone you admire, Anyone who built something meaningful, stood for something real, lived fully, they didn't get there because they avoided discomfort. They got there because they made peace with it. They stopped expecting the world to hand them an easy path and started building their own. And yeah, it was painful, it was lonely, it was hard, but it was worth it. Ask yourself, what's comfort really given you? A job you hate but won't leave? A relationship you outgrew but won't end? A lifestyle that's predictable but uninspiring? Here's the truth that changed everything for me. Easy now means hard later. Hard now means easy later. You can avoid that tough conversation now and live with quiet resentment for years. Or you can face it today, shake things up, and finally breathe again. You can keep numbing your dissatisfaction, or you can walk straight into it, ask what it's trying to teach you, and start rebuilding. You weren't made for passive living. You weren't made to just survive your life. You were built to stretch, to stumble, to get back up, to shed skins and burn bridges and outgrow your old selves again and again and again. That's not being reckless. That's being alive. So if you're feeling stuck, if you're wondering why nothing's changing, if life feels dull or gray or suffocating, it's probably because you've been choosing comfort over courage. That ends now. You don't need a new life. You need a new standard. One where discomfort isn't something you avoid, but something you seek, something you honor, because that tension you feel before doing something brave, that's not fear. That's a signal, a sign that you're on the edge of becoming more. Don't run from it. Lean in. The life you want isn't on the other side of comfort. It's on the other side of who you're willing to become. There's a moment in everyone's life when they realize they've been training the world how to treat them. Not by what they say, but by what they tolerate. What you allow is what will continue. And the sooner you let that truth hit you, not just intellectually, but in your gut, the sooner everything in your life starts to change. People don't just cross your boundaries. You let them. People don't just disrespect your time. You taught them your time wasn't sacred. Toxic behavior doesn't persist because it's powerful. It persists because it's permitted. That's not about blame. It's about ownership. There's a difference. Blame is reactive. Ownership is transformative, because the moment you take ownership over what you've allowed, you reclaim the power to stop allowing it. Let's be honest, most of us are taught to avoid confrontation. We're conditioned to be agreeable, accommodating, polite. We're taught to value harmony over honesty. And that sounds noble, right? Be the peacemaker. Be the bigger person. Don't rock the boat. But if keeping the peace costs you your self-respect, it's not peace, it's suppression. You say yes when you want to say no. You smile when you're hurt. You stay silent when your gut is screaming. You minimize your needs because you don't want to seem difficult. But every time you do that, you're sending a clear message, not just to the world, but to yourself. My boundaries aren't real. My needs aren't valid. My worth is negotiable. And the people around you, they'll believe you. They'll believe your silence. They'll believe your tolerance. They'll believe your excuses for their behavior. Because behavior doesn't change unless there's resistance. You can't change someone's pattern if you keep rewarding it with access to you. Maybe you're in a relationship where you're constantly giving, compromising, overextending, and in return you get breadcrumbs of attention or respect. You tell yourself they'll change, that if you just love them harder, they'll wake up. But love isn't rehabilitation. It's not your job to fix people who refuse to fix themselves. The hard truth, people rise or fall to the standard you hold. If someone knows they can mistreat you and you'll stay, they will. If they know they can ignore your boundaries and you'll forgive them, they won't take you seriously. They don't need to improve because there's no consequence for staying the same. What you allow is what teaches people how far they can go. You might think you're being kind by giving second chances, making excuses, letting things slide. But kindness without boundaries isn't kindness. It's self-betrayal. It's allowing your fear of rejection or conflict to be louder than your self-worth. Think about your job. How many times have you said yes to extra tasks because you didn't want to seem lazy? How often have you stayed quiet in meetings even though you had something valuable to say? How many weekends have you given away to prove you're committed? You're not just overworked, you're under boundary. And that's a choice you make, whether you realize it or not. You can't complain about being burned out when you keep lighting the match. It applies to every area of your life: family, friends, business. The moment you stop enforcing your value, you become complicit in your own mistreatment. Not intentionally, but gradually, through little acts of self-erasure. The solution isn't rage. It's not going nuclear or cutting everyone off. It's clarity. It's calm, firm, unapologetic self-respect. It's saying, this is what I will accept, this is what I won't, and I don't need you to understand it. I just need to honor it. People might not like it. That's okay. You're not responsible for how others react to your boundaries. You're only responsible for communicating and maintaining them. If someone gets upset when you start standing up for yourself, that means your silence was benefiting them. And that's not someone you need to be protecting. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you demand. And demand doesn't mean aggression. It means intention. It means holding yourself and others to a higher standard. It means no longer confusing loyalty with self-sacrifice. Start noticing the small moments. The way someone talks over you in a conversation. The way they only call when they need something. The way you keep saying it's fine when it clearly isn't. These are not minor details. They are patterns. And patterns become your reality. You teach people how to love you by the way you love yourself. You teach them how to value your time by how you protect it. You teach them how to communicate with you by how you respond when they don't. And if you've allowed things in the past that you're not proud of, good, that means you're waking up. That means you've got data. That means you know what it feels like to settle. And once you feel that, really feel it, you won't ever want to go back. So let this be the moment you stop asking, why are they doing this to me? And start asking, why am I still allowing this? Because change doesn't start with them, it starts with you. Your standards are a reflection of your self-worth. And every time you raise them, what you allow is what will continue. So ask yourself, what ends with me? And then act like it. Most people never learn how to deal with their emotions. They learn how to either avoid them or obey them. That's the problem. You're taught that emotions are either dangerous and must be buried, or they're so powerful they must be obeyed without question. Neither is true. Your emotions are not enemies, but they're not leaders either. They're data, not directives. Think about that. When you get an alert on your phone, it tells you something is happening, but it doesn't force you to act a certain way. You decide what to do with the information. Emotions work the same way. They show up with a message, but you are the one who chooses how to respond. And yet, for most people, emotions run the show. You get angry and you snap. You feel insecure and you shrink. You feel fear and you freeze. You let whatever you're feeling dictate what you do, how you show up, and what you believe about yourself and the world. But let's break this down. Just because you feel something doesn't mean it's true. Feeling unworthy doesn't mean you are. Feeling afraid doesn't mean you shouldn't move forward. Feeling angry doesn't mean someone else is wrong. Feelings are real, but they aren't always reliable. There's a difference between emotional honesty and emotional authority. You need to be honest about what you feel, but you don't need to hand your emotions the steering wheel. Let's take fear. Fear has one job: to keep you alive. It's primal. It's been hardwired into you for survival. But the problem is, your brain doesn't know the difference between real danger and perceived discomfort. So fear shows up when you're about to speak in public, or take a risk, or set a boundary, or have a tough conversation. It fires the same way it would if you were facing a lion in the jungle. And you know what most people do? They listen. They assume fear means stop, back off, stay small, stay safe. But fear isn't always a red light. It's often a green light in disguise. It's a sign you're on the edge of something meaningful, something that stretches you, something that matters. Same with anger. Anger tells you a boundary's been crossed, that something's unjust. But too often, people either suppress it or let it explode. Neither option teaches you anything. Suppressing it leads to resentment. Exploding leads to regret. But when you learn to sit with anger, to understand what triggered it, to ask what it's trying to tell you, you begin to use it, not be used by it. Let's talk about sadness. Sadness is often a sign that something needs to be grieved, a dream that didn't happen, a version of yourself you had to let go of, a loss you never acknowledged. Sadness isn't weakness, it's a signal. It says, slow down, pay attention. Something mattered here, but most people rush past it. They distract, they deny, they try to cheer up too fast. But emotions that are buried don't die, they ferment. They show up later as depression, anxiety, burnout. If you don't feel it, you'll relive it. Emotional intelligence doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you feel everything and still act from intention. It means you pause between stimulus and response. You question your first reaction. You ask yourself, what am I feeling? Why? What story am I telling myself? Is that story even true? Let's say someone criticizes you. Your first reaction is probably defensiveness, shame, maybe rage. But if you slow down and look at it with clear eyes, you might realize this has nothing to do with the comment. It has to do with an old wound. Maybe someone once made you feel not good enough, and that part of you never healed. Now you treat every critique like a threat to your identity. See, the way you feel isn't random, it's rooted. And when you're brave enough to trace the root, you gain power. You start responding, not reacting. And there's a massive difference between the two. Reaction is impulsive. It's emotionally driven. It's your pain trying to protect you. Response is thoughtful. It's grounded. It's your wisdom choosing what's best. The most dangerous thing you can do is let temporary emotions make permanent decisions. You feel lonely, so you go back to the relationship that broke you. You feel insecure, so you play small in your career. You feel disrespected, so you burn bridges you could have walked away from in power. You give away your life one emotional impulse at a time. But that changes the moment you stop seeing your emotions as commands and start seeing them as clues. Signals, indicators. They're pointing to something beneath the surface. And when you learn to interpret them instead of obey them, you become a different kind of human. You become stable in chaos, clear in pressure, compassionate with yourself and others. You stop being driven by moods and start being driven by purpose. This is not about controlling your emotions by force. It's about regulating them with awareness. The most powerful people in any room are not the loudest. They're not the ones with the most confidence or charisma. They're the ones who can feel deeply without being derailed by it. The ones who can stay calm in the storm. Not because they don't feel it, but because they know how to move through it. So the next time a wave of emotion hits you, pause. Don't judge it. Don't run from it. And don't instantly act on it. Ask it questions. What are you here to tell me? Where are you coming from? What story are you repeating? And what would my highest self do right now? Because that moment between emotion and action is where your power lives. Your emotions are not your enemy, but they are not your boss. They're information. You are the interpreter. And when you learn to use them that way, everything in your life starts to shift. You stop being controlled by old patterns. You stop living on emotional autopilot. You start showing up with clarity, resilience, and alignment. And that's when you stop surviving your feelings and start using them to build the life you were meant to live. Courage isn't something you're born with. It's not a personality type. It's not a gift reserved for the brave or the bold or the fearless. Courage is a muscle, and like any muscle, it only grows when you work it, when you use it, push it, test it, stretch it. That's the part no one tells you. People look at confident, decisive individuals and think they must have always been like that. No, they weren't. The truth is, they were scared too. They doubted themselves. They had moments where their voice shook, their hands trembled, their stomach flipped, but they did the thing anyway. Not because they felt brave, but because they decided to act despite the fear. That's what courage actually is. It's not the absence of fear. It's movement in the presence of it. And just like a weak muscle, if you never use courage, it atrophies. If you keep avoiding the hard conversations, the difficult decisions, the new beginnings, your tolerance for discomfort shrinks. You start building a life around what's easy instead of what's meaningful. And the longer you do that, the more courage it takes to make even small changes, because the muscle is weak. But the good news? Courage is always trainable, always accessible, no matter how long it's been dormant. It starts with tiny acts. You speak up in a meeting where you normally stay quiet. You tell the truth even when your voice shakes. You ask for help. You say no without guilt. You apply for the job you don't feel ready for. You walk away from something that no longer fits, even if it terrifies you. And every time you do, you reinforce a new belief. I can handle this. Even if I'm scared, I can still show up. That's how confidence is born. Not from perfection, not from ease, but from proof. Confidence is courage's reward. Courage comes first, and yes, it will feel uncomfortable. That's the point. Growth never feels good in the moment. The gym doesn't feel good at rep number 9. Having the hard conversation doesn't feel good in the middle of it. Leaving a safe job to pursue something uncertain doesn't feel good on the first day. But it's not supposed to feel good right away. It's supposed to feel real, and real is messy. Real is emotional. Real is uncertain. That's where transformation happens. Because every time you choose courage, you change your relationship with fear. You start seeing fear not as a stop sign, but as a compass. Fear shows you where the edge is, where the next level begins, where the old self ends and the new self is born. If you never feel fear, you're not pushing your boundaries. You're just recycling the same version of yourself over and over again. You know the moments that require courage. They're the ones you keep postponing. The phone call you haven't made, the boundary you haven't set, the truth you haven't spoken, the dream you keep telling yourself it's not the right time for. That hesitation, that resistance, that's the exact place where the muscle needs work. But here's the tricky part. Courage never announces itself. There's never a clear sign saying, this is the right move. There's never a moment where the fear goes away completely. You just have to move while it's still there. And that's what makes it powerful. That's what makes it transformative. Courage is a decision, a posture, a commitment to act on what matters more than what feels safe. It's not about grand, heroic moments. It's about choosing truth over comfort, integrity over approval, purpose over predictability. Think about all the times in your life when you grew the most. Were they easy? Were you calm and collected the whole time? Probably not. You were probably scared out of your mind, but you did it anyway. And after, you were different. You were stronger. You had proof. That's what courage gives you. Proof that you are more capable than you think. That your fear is not the full story. That discomfort is temporary, but regret is permanent. Every time you practice courage, you expand your capacity for life, for love, for truth, for freedom. And let's be clear, courage doesn't always feel loud. Sometimes it's quiet. It's walking away from something everyone else tells you to stay in. It's standing alone when it would be easier to follow. It's saying this isn't working when everyone else is pretending it is. It's trying again after you've failed in public. That kind of courage isn't flashy, but it's fierce. It's the kind that shapes who you are at the core. The people you admire, they built that courage muscle through repetition, through failure, through risk. They didn't wake up fearless. They woke up willing, and that willingness made them unstoppable. So ask yourself, where am I playing small because I'm waiting to feel brave? What would change if I stopped waiting and started moving? Because here's the truth. Courage doesn't show up before the moment. It shows up in the moment. It's not something you wait for. It's something you practice into being. You don't need to overhaul your life to build courage. You just need to start showing up differently in the little things. One choice at a time, one rep at a time, one honest moment at a time. And every time you do, you get stronger. So no, courage isn't a trait. It's not something you either have or you don't. It's a muscle, and it's waiting for you to train it. Your life will never change by accident. It will not transform just because time passes, or because you hope it will, or because you're waiting for the right moment. It will only change when you do, when you make different decisions, when you choose to see yourself differently, when you stop repeating the same patterns and expecting a new result. Most people are waiting for the relationship to get better, for the job to feel fulfilling, for motivation to magically appear, for life to become easier. But waiting is not a strategy. Hoping is not the same as healing. And time doesn't change anything unless you do the work during that time. You are the common denominator in your life. Wherever you go, there you are. Your habits go with you. Your mindset goes with you. Your stories, your excuses, your patterns, your beliefs, they all follow you. That's why moving cities, changing jobs, or getting into new relationships doesn't automatically fix things. If nothing inside you changes, you'll just recreate the same situations in a different zip code. The truth is, most people don't need a new plan. They need a new level of self-awareness, because you can't fix what you don't face. You can't change what you keep justifying. You say you want growth, but keep choosing comfort. You say you want a new life, but cling to the old version of yourself. And it's not because you're weak. It's because change is uncomfortable. It's disorienting. It challenges everything you've known. It forces you to look at parts of yourself you'd rather avoid. But discomfort is not the enemy. It's the path. Your resistance to change is not a sign to stop. It's a sign that you're touching the edge of your current identity. Most people live in patterns, not potential. They repeat the same thoughts every day. They act out the same emotional reactions. They tell themselves the same stories. I'm not good enough. It's too late. This is just how I am. These stories become cages, and the longer you believe them, the more they feel like truth. But the truth is, your identity is not fixed. Who you are is not a final product. It's a process, a construction, and you are the builder. You get to decide who you want to become. But becoming that version of yourself means letting go of who you used to be. That means grieving the comfortable, releasing the familiar, is saying goodbye to behaviors that used to protect you. It means outgrowing old coping mechanisms. It means losing relationships that only made sense when you played small. This is where most people turn back, not because they're incapable, but because they don't recognize the cost of transformation. You don't just level up without letting go. There is always a cost. The cost is comfort. The cost is certainty. The cost is being liked by everyone. The cost is who you were before. But the reward? The reward is everything else. The reward is freedom, peace, alignment, confidence that comes from within, not from approval. Power that's not based on control, but on clarity. And that all starts when you change, not just externally, but internally. When you decide that your standards are no longer negotiable, when you start treating yourself with the respect you've been begging others to give you, when you start honoring your intuition instead of silencing it, when you stop asking for permission to want more, it doesn't happen overnight. Growth is slow, messy, often invisible. You don't wake up changed. You wake up and choose again and again and again to be someone different than the version of you who stayed stuck. And that choice isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's the smallest shift that changes everything. It's choosing to respond instead of react. It's choosing to walk away instead of prove your point. It's choosing to show up to the gym when you don't feel like it. It's choosing to stay in instead of numbing your pain at another party. It's choosing to speak your truth even if your voice shakes. It's choosing to trust that you're worth more, even if your past tells a different story. That's how you change your life. One small, consistent, conscious choice at a time. And yes, there will be moments when it feels like nothing is working, when the effort isn't paying off, when the old life is gone but the new one hasn't fully formed. That's the in-between. That's the cocoon. That's the dark room where transformation is happening quietly, invisibly. Don't give up there. Because the more you honor the process, the more you start to see the shifts. You notice you don't take things as personally anymore. You set boundaries faster. You stop settling for half effort from people. You walk into rooms with your head higher. Not because you're arrogant, but because you finally know who you are. You stop asking for directions to a place only you are meant to build. That's what happens when you change. You stop waiting for life to change around you, and you start becoming the change that shapes your life. So ask yourself, what am I still holding on to that's keeping me stuck? What version of me needs to die so the next one can be born? Because your life will not rise above your level of self-awareness. Your reality will not improve unless your mindset does. Your relationships will not deepen unless your self-worth does. Your opportunities will not grow unless your courage does. This is not about fixing yourself. You are not broken. This is about choosing to evolve. Choosing to stop letting fear, doubt, and past conditioning define your future. Choosing to write a new story. And it all begins not with them, not with the world, not with perfect timing, but with you. Your life will change when you do. Not before, not after. Right when you decide you're ready to become who you were always meant to be. If you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. Your life is not going to magically change when things get easier, or when the timing is perfect, or when fear finally disappears. None of that is coming. What is available right now is the choice to change you, to stop shrinking for the sake of comfort, to stop playing small because it's familiar, to stop handing your power to fear, to other people's opinions, or to your past. You don't need more time. You need more truth. You need more courage. You need more alignment between who you say you want to be and the actions you take every single day. This is your moment to decide, will I stay the same? Or will I finally become the version of myself that I know deep down I'm meant to be? Because the most powerful transformation you'll ever experience isn't when your life changes. It's when you do. That's when everything around you starts to move. That's when doors open. That's when energy shifts. That's when life stops happening to you and starts responding to you. So take the step. Speak the truth. End what needs to end. Begin what scares you. Do the thing, even if your voice shakes. Because nothing, absolutely nothing will change in your life until you do. The power has always been yours. Now use it.